Hey y'all, hey, it's your girl Ronnie Dior, and today on the assignment is going to be short and a little different. We are nearing the end of the year. We are reflecting, hopefully, on some things that has happened, still being produced, still in the works, and maybe just not able to be completed this year, so we're planning for next year. So without, lack of a better word, we are in our reflection time because we're ending the year out. But I want to make sure that you don't count the year over with yet. I need you to put some Laker Nation on that thing and come through strong in the fourth quarter. Finish this thing all the way out to the very end, 12:31, 2021, 11:59 p.m. Take it all the way to the end. And that is important in becoming, because when you're becoming, it's consistency. It is pushing through every day. It is showing up every day. It is understanding that today is a little different than yesterday, but I'm going to find some mustard to push through the day. It's about getting to the trunk. It's about understanding who you are. It's about holding on through the wait. And it is about, it's about showing up even when your faith is starting to say, what am I doing? Okay. So this is where we are. We are in the cups of it, right? And the thing about this moment, no matter what you are working towards, typically this is what we will call the season for seasonal depression. And it usually runs during the winter months, right? When the days are shorter and the nights are longer. It's colder. Holidays come up, and if anyone has lost a loved one, that's when it hits a little bit different. We miss them a little bit more. In the cups of still being in the pandemic, we still don't know what to do. Last year, holidays were like for real canceled, right? That was the first time we ever just only had holidays with people that lived in our house or Zoomed our holiday experience. But this year, it's like you should be able to, but still be careful. Plan discretionally based on your own, safety and all those things. And so it's still not completely back to 2019's holiday season, right? And then some of us lost people through the pandemic. So it definitely hits a little bit different. And with all of those stressors, with all of those biological things that we can't help, and all of the environmental things that normally happens during this time, seasonal depression almost has like a breeding ground. And if you don't know what seasonal depression is, that is when most people who deal with depression, that's like any other time of the year. And you cycle through it. Seasonal depression is just that. It only comes in this season. Not seasonal, as in like it could happen in spring, it could happen in fall. No. Seasonal depression usually comes around this time of the year, because of the environmental changes happening throughout, as well as the biological changes that happen internally. This is the time where your serotonin is being not being dispersed the way it normally would to kind of wake you up and get your day started and to boost your mood. And then the melatonin is not properly kicking in at its reasonable time, because it is being based off of the light exposure, the daytime light, the natural sunlight, the natural clock of the world, the natural time frame of the world. And so your melatonin at this point is being dispersed at an earlier time, causing your body to depress, or causing your body to slow down, causing your body to get to a place of wanting to rest. And it's not actually dark out, which is also why you have a hard time getting up in the morning, because it's dark out. Your body feels like it still should be asleep. Your biological body is saying stay asleep. The chemicals aren't being released, the hormones aren't being released to wake you up yet. But it is time to actually get up, because it's 6, 7 o'clock and it's just dark out. And so these are normal, natural things that occur. And so then with that, you also have your own stressors, personal dealings, all those things are taken into account. And so sometimes it's hard to push through at this time. Sometimes it's hard to finish the course, stay on track, get to the end of the thing. We get to this part and we just want to say, you know what? Let's just, try again in January. Let's just stop here. It's always seemed like a stopping point. I'm encouraging you not to stop. I'm encouraging you to continue to press through. I'm not just encouraging you. I looked in the mirror before I had this conversation with you guys, and I said, Veronica, encourage yourself to push through. It's the last quarter. Keep going. Finish it all the way out. Stay strong. Finish strong. Okay? Finish strong. And to help you finish strong, I'm going to actually read an excerpt from my book called Back to Me, A Weekly Deposit into Self. This book is broken down into 4 different parts: mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical. For me, as a mental health therapist, I come from the framework of self-care is the basis. And so if we are paying attention to how we are actually taking care of ourselves, how we're checking in with ourselves, self-awareness on those 4 levels. What am I thinking about mentally? How am I processing things emotionally? Am I in tune with my emotions? Am I expressing them correctly? Spiritually, am I connected to a higher source that's outside of me that I understand is with me and present with me? And then physically, how am I treating myself? How am I literally treating my body? Am I sleepy? Am I eating? Am I active? What am I doing? If we can balance ourselves on those 4 levels, there's a sense of mindfulness that begins to happen. And then we can tap into when something's off, it's off in one of those areas. One of those areas is being triggered. One of those areas are not getting the full attention that they need. And that is what self-care is. Properly attuning to self. And so this book breaks it down in that manner. And so in this book, you will find that each chapter takes you through like a conversation, like you would have a therapeutic session. It poses a thought, it asks a question, and there's a space for you to respond and do your own reflection. No one else sees it unless you show them the book, but it's your own kind of self-help guide through checking in with myself and depositing back into me, which is why it's called Back to Me, A Weekly Deposit into Self. It is definitely a year-long expectation finish. So you have time to process it. It's broken down by the week so that you're not like, I gotta do this day, I gotta do this day. No, it's broken down by the week so that every week you're depositing into yourself so you're not overwhelming yourself. But for the purpose of this episode, I want to read from the emotional growth chapter, and then I'm going to read a particular week so that you guys can not only understand how the book, reads and hear, how to process through it, but it's particular to finishing strong. If you're going to finish strong, you're going through and you're dealing with something, you have to make sure that in this point, at this particular point of this season, you are checking in on your emotional level. It's this time of the year where it seems that our emotional well-being starts getting a little dicey, a little fragile, a little intense, a little, because this is when the emotions come up for people. This is when you're super jolly or you're super sad. It's just one of those things that's happening. And we want to make sure that regardless of all the things, we're checking in with ourselves emotionally. So this excerpt is going to come from the emotional growth chapter of Back to Me, A Weekly Deposit into Self. And then we're also going to read week 34 entitled Pressed. Welcome to the Assignment Podcast, where your host is Ronnie Dior, a licensed mental health therapist. Be ready to laugh, to be inspired, and to take plenty of notes as she provides this great wisdom. Grab your pen, your paper, and tune in for the show. At an early age, we learn how to interpret things from 3 points: how we feel, our actions, and consequences or rewards. Our emotions lead our actions, which results in positive or negative rewards. Now let's be clear. Your emotions do play a role in your thoughts and actions, but only as an influencer. Your emotions cannot be the driver because they will cause you to make decisions that could cost you everything. If you find yourself led by your emotions, then it's time you regain control and get back in the driver's seat. Your emotions are there to keep you human. They help show empathy and sympathy and are internal responses to external events. They are not to dictate what happens next. You are always in control. It's important that we protect our hearts so that our emotions won't create a prison or unsafe place of being. In this section, think about the experiences that have shaped the way you express or withhold your emotions. Were you raised in a home that did not model expression of emotions? Were you taught to hold it in and get over it? Does being strong mean that you don't cry because crying shows weakness? Some of us have learned that to express our emotions was to be weak, a sign of vulnerability, or characterized as a drama queen or a drama king. But that's not true. We are humans with the ability to feel hurt, pain, joy, shame, love, and fear. Our emotions are assigned to an experience that teaches us how to interpret the new experience or not to repeat them. Allowing yourself to feel and express your emotions is a way to regulate your stress, feel human, and connect with yourself and others. A healthy expression of emotions is a necessary release that balances, grounds, and releases you. The purpose of the next few exercises are to help you release, heal, and redefine your emotions. Week 34, Pressed. If you are sad and want to isolate because of a lingering sadness, you must first identify what the sadness is attached to. What is happening in your life that is causing you to be sad? Then secondly, instead of isolating to live in that sadness, isolate to take time away to think about that sadness. While you're there, ask God what He is doing through this moment. What is He exposing, shedding, pruning off you, or pushing you out of? Understand that we are pressed to get things out of us. Sometimes we fall into depression because of death, misfortune, loss, or lack. But remember, the sadness is an emotion, and depression is an elevated state of being sad. Basically, sad said, this is too much to get through. So just stay here and fixate your thoughts on things that will keep you here. But I dare you to say, yes, I'm grieved by this situation, but God. And then begin to tell God to take the hurt and pain and replace it with joy and wisdom daily. See, it requires daily fighting to come against a negative emotional state of being. Your I am is under attack right now, and you must fight for it. You would want to stay there, but this situation is not supposed to keep you there, but to press you there. So get up from that bed of a depressed, afflicted place and write down some fighting words. Speak to that place of pressing. What's taking place? Why? Why are you here? What's happening? What should you be doing to reap the victory over it? Don't give up. Fight. In that excerpt that I just read from Back to Me, A Weekly Deposit to Self, I read over week 34, which is the pressed chapter, and that pretty much just spoke about the fact that we can find ourselves in a place of severe sadness, but we have to figure out why we feel that way. What's going on in that area? What are we being pressed about? Yes, you're depressed. That means something is on top of you. Something is pressing you down. Something is weighing you. There's a weight right there. When something is depressed, that means it is being compressed. It's being pushed down. You want to ask yourself, what is pushing me? What is happening right now? What am I under? What am I under? Evaluate. Take the time when you isolate. Don't take the time to be depressed. Take the time to find out what's pressing you. Take the time to see what is going on, because it could be unresolved grief, unresolved trauma, an unresolved ending to something that you never really felt like you got the closure from. It could be unexpressed emotions, like I never got to say what I really wanted to say to this person, or I never got to communicate this, or I wasn't able to talk about this. It could be a sense of I don't feel worthy, I have low self-worth. It could be you being too hard on yourself because you look back and say, I wanted to accomplish all of these things, but I only accomplished this much. It could be those things that may not even be tied to us, but we're taking responsibility for. We're taking accountability for. So these are the things that I encourage you during this time, as we're ramping up the year, as we're in the fourth quarter, as we're finishing strong, as we're entering to the holiday season. I want you, if you are feeling this way, or if you know someone that's feeling this way, I encourage you to understand the pressing, to get into it, not to be depressed, but understand why you're pressed. We don't want to claim I am depressed, because I am is a state of being. I am is an identifier. I am strong. I am going through something. But I am depressed. We don't want to declare that over our lives. We don't want to make that definitive statement. I understand, because I have lived in the area of having a depressed mood and cycling through moments of depression for extended time, not just weeks at a time, but months at a time. And I had to release the frame thought of I am depressed, instead of saying I am experiencing depression. I'm going through a cycle, but I am. That is making a declaration over you. And like I said in that chapter, your I am is under attack. It wants you to identify with that depressed place, because if you identify with that depressed place, you don't investigate it. You just become one with it. But when you do not identify that that's your place, then you begin to investigate why you're there. And then you choose to stay, or you make the necessary changes to get out. Now, it's not as simple as it sounds, because sometimes we need help to get out of those depressed places. But the first step is trying to allow yourself, giving yourself permission to process, why am I pressed right now? What is going on? Because I am not this. I am something else. And if I am that, then what is this thing here trying to identify me as that I do not agree with? So let me look into it. Let me get into it. Let me evaluate, process, and assess so that I can remove myself from it. And then once that is accomplished, then you'll be able to start doing the other parts of bringing yourself into full remission of this feeling and get back into things and get back on course and get back in place. So I encourage you all to do a self-reflection. If you are experiencing a struggle and a fight right now in this moment, and you're feeling heavy, you're feeling weighted, you're feeling the fluctuation of your mood, you're losing that desire to continue, that push through isn't there, I want you to reflect and ask yourself, what am I under right now? What's the weight that's on me? And why do I feel pressed? And then you're going to take that same insightfulness and press it out. You're going to then counteract it with things that will help you release it. You're going to talk about it. You're going to process it. You're going to meet with a therapist. You're going to get with a life coach. You're going to budget. You're going to prioritize. You're going to schedule. You're going to plan. These are actionable steps, actionable ways to address this area of being. For a copy of Back to Me, a weekly deposit into self, please visit the website www.diormovement.com. That's www.diormvmt.com. Use code ACREW for 15% off, since you are my ACREW listeners. That's A as in assignment, crew, CREW, ACREW, for 15% off, since you are my assignment crew listeners.
Please be advised, although Rhonda Dior is a licensed professional therapist, neither she nor this show serves as a substitute for receiving private therapeutic services. For more information about services, please visit www.diormovement.com. That's www.diormvmt.com.